Welcome. I'm Janelle Kolaski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda Dubois, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire. I am extremely excited about this episode because we're going to have two powerhouse coaches who are going to talk about career and how important that is to your branding, to your life, and to the actor and the entertainment industry. So let me introduce our amazing guest, Anastasia Edwards. She is an award-winning Russian-American TV film actress who has been on shows Chicago Fire, Little American, and Crisis. She is also a career coach for actors like you. She helps actors define their brand, assemble strong teams, and build industry connections with clarity, structure, and a loving kick in the ass. Now, I love a good kick in the ass for our clients, so I'm really, really excited. So, as we have indulged in this industry and it's so unpredictable, especially the past 3 years with the pandemic, with the strike, how has looking at your career as an actor been so important, looking at it from a business perspective rather than a creative? And I just want to be on set. I want to work and collaborate with actors, and I want to just work on monologues and all those things. How has the business side really benefited you and propelled you as well as your clients?
Yeah. Well, just in full transparency, I've been on pause acting-wise since October of 2022. So I've been on my little acting hiatus and really tapping into career coaching, which I'm finding more and more. This is really my lane, and I'm so happy there. So I honestly don't know if where it's heading in terms of my own acting career. It's definitely taught me a lot in terms of how to get started and the business end, but I am in conversation with actors literally every day, in addition to agents, managers, and casting directors inside of my membership. So I have a lot of insight more on that versus from my acting, although obviously just based on my experience. Listen, on one hand, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, come on, you guys, everything's great. What y'all worried about, right? Obviously we had a global pandemic. We had strikes, like you said. We have this fun deadline article that's causing a lot of chaos. Say pilot season is gone, series regular roles are diminishing, budget cuts, supply demand, all that fun stuff that we cannot ignore, right? That's the state of the industry. Now, the question is, what do you do with it, right? How do you react to it? I'm sure you, Amanda, speak on that a lot, right? How you react to a situation, whether it's a change or anything negative, says a lot, not just obviously about your character, but in my view, how long you will stay in business, right? Especially entertainment business, and how successful you're going to be. So actors, oftentimes there's this big echo chamber of hysteria, and we like to complain and get together, and everything sucks, and the gatekeepers in the industry, and this and this and that. And it makes you feel good in the moment, right? Because it makes you feel justified for your own lack of progress. It makes you feel less alone, but it doesn't really take you anywhere from there, right? So then the question is, okay, so this is the state of the industry. What do I do with it, right? What do I do with it? And that's what we look at the business side of acting. And so I just wanted to offer up a different perspective. If we were to zoom out of the nitty-gritty of the current state of the union, right, and look at the broader perspective. Number one, when was Hollywood entertainment business ever fair? If you're looking for fair, that's not the industry. That's not it, right? It's at least fair to actors, right? If you look at supply and demand issue, there's so much noise about it. Come on, you guys. When did we ever not have a supply and demand issue? There are thousands of actors being submitted, hundreds auditioning, one or two get the job. That's the name of the game, period. Talking about, how difficult it is to make money as a working actor. We're talking the 1 to 3% that are making millions walking red carpets. The rest of us are struggling to get union insurance, right? The SAG-AFTRA insurance. And then also, if you look at it from the business perspective, right, outside of the artistry and the craft and the any business is going to adjust the model for profitability and to fit into technology progression. And I mean, everyone is using AI now in their businesses, everyone adjusting and moving forward. So I think it's just diminishing the grandioseness of it. For me, at least, allows me to be okay, hang on a second. Is it really that bad? Is it drastically unprecedented? And by diminishing the hysteria, I'm able to look at it logically, which is me, right? That's what helps me to also break down the problem. But then from there, just, make decisions that are more in alignment with my vision versus making decisions out of scarcity, right? Which a lot of actors operate in. I'm going to get dropped. I'm going to be blacklisted. I'm going to be this, right? There's this constant of like, that puts us in a little box playing small, right? So on the business end, I follow a lot of experts, as I'm sure you guys as well, right? Casting directors and agents and managers that I love and respect. And a lot of them address the issues of the industry, which is important. But the presumed solution to it always comes down to go back in an acting class, work on your craft, work on your audition techniques, sharpen up your skill set because you will need it. Because guys, times are rough. And it's like, okay, but if you can't even get into the freaking door to show them what you can do, why that doesn't matter. I honestly think talent doesn't matter. And before your viewers go after me.
No, I agree. I've literally been saying that. You have to be talented and attractive enough. The rest is business, and then the craft is important. That's it.
If you don't have eyeballs on your talent, if you don't know how to position yourself, if you don't know how to talk about it, if you don't know how to build a team and build connections, you're going to be the best in class for the rest of your career, being applauded and feeling good about yourself. This is it.
But yeah, think about it this way, right? Think about any brand in the world, McDonald's, Nike. What do they have? They have their one-liner, their elevator pitch. They have a brand. When you think about McDonald's, you think about ba-da-ba-ba-ba, loving it, right? You've got, or Nike, just do it. There is a brand and there's a reason why. So when you walk into these rooms, when you are talked about in the rooms that you're not there, what are they going to say about you? What comes to mind when your name comes up, when Amanda Dubois comes up, when Janelle Kolaski, when Anastasia Edwards comes up? What do they say? Do they go, oh my gosh, they're great actresses. They're really brilliant. They know the business, or whatever it is. They bring to the table something that we never seen before. That is what we have to focus on top of the art. And I know it sounds overwhelming because it can be overwhelming. And Janelle and I talk about this all the time. But if you think of it that way, it also makes it easier for you to go after the things that you want. So, and so you talk a bit about how branding is it plays a part in acting and in our career, because when we first start out, what is your niche? Are you the girl next door? Are you the villain? Where do you stand with that now, with the industry changing so much now that we don't have pilot season?
Exactly why I think this conversation is so important, because if you're complaining about supply and demand, doesn't it that make sense to be specific and differentiate yourself in a sea of other actors, right? That the argument doesn't make sense. It's like, there's supply and demand issue, so go work on your craft. So you're marketing yourself as, I'm talented and I can do it all, which is, if you're everywhere, you're nowhere. You're not positioning yourself in anything specific. And in terms of the business, there are three pillars, right? There's mindset, business, and craft. And I think all three are equally important, and we need to work on all three, ideally with coaches, ideally with all these things, or figure out what phase you are in, right? To me, I help with the figuring out the business piece. And I tell clients, if your craft is not solid, don't even worry about business, in my view. Because, you can be, James Cameron can call you tomorrow. If you're not ready to deliver, go back in class. That's my view of it, right? So only worry about business when we have a foundation to build off of, to get eyeballs on your talent and skill set that you've already built, right? Foundation is, mindset is the foundation of everything, right? If you're amazing in your craft and you know how to position and talk about it and everything else, but you're self-sabotaging, comparing, self-doubting, blah, 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 you're either going to be bitter and jaded and quit, or you're just going to be miserable in the journey of it. And most likely, again, you're not going to last. So all three of them are so important, right? Within the business umbrella, the business puzzle piece, I broke it down for myself in four main categories: branding, marketing, team, networking. Know what you're selling, have a marketing that's aligned with it, have a team nationally and internationally, more soldiers in your army that bringing the numbers and driving the volume and the traffic for you, and go directly to decision makers. Stop hiding behind agents and managers and waiting for casting directors to discover you when casting directors are being cut. They're literally regional casting directors to save money. It's a business. They're getting cut, right? And they're also a middleman. They're a middleman between us, the talent, and then the decision maker. So the reason I start with branding, because to me, that's a foundation. The funny thing, what I'm hearing from a lot of, again, experts in the business is branding, there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of resistance. They're really getting hung up on the label of it. but they don't say no to marketing. So they're talked to the blue in their face about headshots and videos. And my question to them is like, how can you market something if you don't know what the heck that is? How can you market, again, if you're marketing just talent and I can do it all, then you are in a sea of thousands of the actors, and then the market is getting tighter, tighter, and tighter. So that argument, number one, doesn't make sense for me. You cannot market something you don't understand. To me, also, branding is what it comes down to, the way I look at it is, it's not a limiting thing, it's an empowering thing. If I know what I bring to the table and I can talk about it, then that gives me confidence, because most actors operate in a way of, am I good? Do you like me? Am I good and do you like me? And they always kind of walk around like that with that energy, right? Instead of, I can nail this. This is my bread and butter. And this is what differentiates a lot of working actors. Like, they know what they're good at. And, and it's not something set in stone. It's break in, be remembered, build a resume, build the buzz and the momentum, and then expand. Charlize Theron started this hot bombshell manipulative kind of girlfriend, right? And then she produced Monster, completely transformed herself, got an Oscar, and now she's like a shaved head badass superhero. Like, you can do whatever you want. Oh, you stay in the same lane, like Tom Cruise or whatever, right? So you choose your own lane. But in the beginning, in order to break in, to shine the light on your talent, we need to get specific. So to me, branding is an empowering thing. It's a necessary thing due to how the market is changing. And it's the foundation for you to market yourself, build a team that's aligned with, again, who you are. So many actors come to me that already have agents and managers, and then they're not working. And majority % of the time is because their package is not aligned, or their team has no idea what they bring to the table. So they're literally pitching them, even with the right package, for the wrong things. And so I have managers sending me clients to help them with branding work. And oftentimes actors think, I'm going to go to agent and manager for them to figure me out and tell me what to do. And that's a big gap. I think we need to go to agents and managers already knowing what we bring to the table and a package to back it up, and the connections and the momentum that we've built on our own to take it further. And so to me, branding is the foundation of your team. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No, I love all of this, and it's music to my ears because Sam and I talk about this. But also, I would love to know your story about how you arrived to this, because I started 16 years ago. But then probably 9.5 years ago, I was going to give up completely. I was doing more modeling, hosting, pursuing acting, but it's just I was studying and all this. But, I'm pretty stubborn. And part of me was like, but I'm meant to do this. So I was like, I'm going to give it one more year. I'm going to write down everything I can control. I'm going to see what I'm doing. And I created a system. I'm like, I'm not being consistent. I'm not treating it like a business. And of course, once I did, I've been working ever since.
Yep.
But a lot of people are afraid of this. I don't know. How did you find it for yourself? And then also, what advice do you have? Because it's that thing of, well, if I only present this, then I'll never work because I can be anything.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, first of all, I hated the idea of branding when I was starting out. I hated it. I was like, what are you talking about, branding? I worked in the conservatory to stretch my range, to show how different I can be from who I am. And that's what I pride myself in. And now you're telling me I have to put it in it's exactly how I looked at it, put myself in a box. And also, I grew up in Russia. I came here when I was 18, turning 19. I had a heavier accent. I was hiding the fact. I was like, oh my God, I hope I sound American, look American, everything's American. God forbid they know my background. They know I wanted to blend in so bad. So nothing that I was not tapping into my voice and my strength and that. And also I wanted to be everything and anything. And I did everything that I was told to do. I got the headshots, I got the agents, or I couldn't get an agent for a while, right? And then I did all the classes and things were not moving. So then I was like, hang on a second, what am I missing? And the big gap, what was missing is that the market is too saturated. It's not enough to just be, I am talented and I can do it all, especially when everything went online. So the more I started tapping into what I'm really good at as an actor and who I am as a person. So there's also a difference between an actor brand and a personal brand. And a lot of actors confuse the two. And I find that both are super important, especially right now in our business, where literally this little iPhone thingy that you have in your hand literally can launch everything for you. Forget about the monopoly of the big industries. If you could generate enough buzz, they will come and find you. So we're no longer in this way of we can't do anything without casting directors, or we can't do anything without agents. I'm not saying to go completely against the traditional model, but do that right? And so and what's interesting, because the actor brand and a personal brand, they can coexist if you, sometimes they're aligned and sometimes they're not. So for example, if for character actors, the way I define character actors, if they're on the cusp of comedic relief and eccentric, right? Obviously those very specific examples, Jack Nicholson, DeVito, obviously physically, but some people just energetically have this specific energy about them. Then their personal brand is very different. They're playing all the psychos and the goofballs and whatever, right? So it's important for them to know what their niche, what they is in the acting, but it's even more important for them to highlight the personal, so they know they're not a psycho and they stand for things and this is what they believe in, this is right. And then for actors where the personal and the acting blends in, it's also important because then they can amplify, right? Because oftentimes with series regulars, they go back to your social media, oftentimes not to check on the amount of followers, but to see, are you that person? The authenticity in casting became more and more prevalent. Now they actually want someone who's disabled, who is gay, who is from Jamaica, who is, right? So this idea of you creating someone completely opposite from who you are, right? The Meryl Streep and the Marlon Brando. Oh, Marlon Brando was actually very tapping into his specific essence. But I'm just saying, it's gone. We have 24 to 48 hours. What are we bringing to the table? Special sauce, who we are, right? Our natural essence. So I had a lot of resistance towards it when I was starting out. And when I started embracing it and actually talking about it and marketing myself in a way that makes sense to, again, me as an actor. And also you can't be blind to the feedback, right? Like you can do what you want to do. Like the big thing that I do with my clients when it comes to branding and the gap that I see with branding coaches. I mean, I've taken myself a bunch of branding classes and things like that. It's coming from my personal experience and my clients and me educating myself on the topic. And I'm constantly learning on the topic. The gap that I usually saw, it's one-sided. It's either you collect all the feedback about who you are from others and just run with that, right? And internally you're screaming and you're like, this is no, I can do more and I can be more. Or you only go by what you want to do. So you're like, I am the next Margot Robbie, right? And then, so it's either one of those two. And what I find, it's the middle spot of the outside perception. You cannot be blind to it. This is a visual medium. The second you pop on camera, you open your mouth, people make decisions, opinions, right? So we have to take that in. But we also have to take in what we know about ourselves, right? That we've lived on the planet Earth for whatever many years. We know shit about ourselves, right? Can I swear here? I don't know. And then where are we going, right? Like what's the vision? And so to me, it's the middle spot of all three that bring this cohesive sort of branding clarity. So long story short, I had lots of resistance until I saw, I can't even get in the door if I'm not actually marketing myself in a way that's specific to what I bring to the table and what's been coming through on my end. And once I did, like I broke into network TV. I built 6 network TV, got in the union, got agents. I'm based in Hawaii, in Atlanta, in Chicago, in Los Angeles. And again, I see the value also in expanding your team. And it's hard to do those things if you cannot confidently talk about what you bring to the table.
Everything about this, I know the tingling in Janelle's body and brain is like on fire because this is what she talks about quite often. Talks about all the time, and I feel like it goes through one ear and out the other. But it's also, like you said, it can be very overwhelming because you actually have to sit down and ask these questions. You have to look at your brand. You have to be realistic, and then you again integrating who you are with the brand versus. And some people don't have to, in the sense of, I'm going to take myself out of the acting realm. That's fine too, but you really have to, again, make that decisive decision. And really run with it and believe it and like say it with your full chest, as they say, right? Say it with your and everything you do. And like for the longest time, like, especially if you're of a specific background, whether, and every single one of us have a unique background, right? And, you're Russian, so you get categorized as like the Russian actress, Janelle, you get casted as just the uptight mom in in that world, and then I get that kind of like a little bit of an attitude kind of girl, but she's sweet, but you don't know, like we have, and that's great. I always recognize too is that how do they first see you? Because that is probably what's going to also get you into the room a lot quicker than you guessing and trying to be something different. And that is a part of the brand too. But yeah, you have something to say about that.
No, you have to take in that feedback because otherwise you're just not going to have a career, right? So it's like, but if you only go by what But if you only go by that feedback and you shut yourself down completely, then most likely it's just not going to be fulfilling enough. So it has to be somewhere in the middle spot. And I think what I find in regards to like essence and type and all these other things that I really like to dig deeper into, obviously my classes, my courses, is that at the end of the day, you will be known for your essence versus your type. Like I love Julia Roberts. Since I was a kid, I probably watched anything and everything with her. I don't care if she plays a prostitute, if she plays an attorney, if she plays a mom, if she plays a love interest. I know what I'm going to get when I go watch Julia Roberts. So I think in the beginning, it's important to get to kind of sort of identify your bread and butter types is what I call it. But what's important is to identify your branding, your through line essence. That's like an umbrella that doesn't matter who you play in terms of status or in terms of the environment or in terms of the period world or whatever, that essence through line is going to come across. And so but we need to figure out what are your main sort of colors in your palette in order to identify that. And we have to simplify it enough to where we can market it, right? If it's too vague, so like in the beginning, if you only lead with your essence, I am a quirky, da 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 da. I kind of have an idea, but it's still not specific. So we need to bring in the type and the essence to really kind of put a bow on it, right? And then the personal side, it's kind of like adding more holistic side to it. And both of you guys are multi-hyphenate and right? And I think there's more and more conversation in our industry in regards to that. No longer actors are just stick to your one lane. Like people want to know, like, yeah, like where did you come from? What do you believe in? What are what are your skill set? What are your experiences, your life experience? They translate oftentimes in the TV film, right? So again, there's this craving, and that's why actors get upset at influencers that they're just getting, TV series right off the bat and all that stuff. It's because they have a relatable, understood, specific brand. Which means what? It means guaranteed butts and seats in movie theaters. It means, revenue. And so many actors, social media is a free marketing tool. They don't even...
Oh my gosh, I know. I went through that recently. I go through people's profile. I'm like, what, you're an actor? Where I can't tell. But I'm curious. So can you give us an example of what you would say to a client? And I want both of your feedbacks on this. If your client was coming in, what would it be like a through line that you would have them create and say? Like, what are some examples so that you can kind of let other people ruminate through those thoughts and go, oh, that's a great example. Okay, let me start thinking about that for myself.
Yeah, so I'm not the type of coach where you come in and tell me, Anna, what's my brand? And I'm like, here you go. Bye-bye. Because you're more than that, right? You're more than just a quirky girl next door. Girl next door, by the way, is the most overused term. And quirky, what the heck does that mean? In which way are you quirky? Are you quirky because you're goofy? Are you quirky because you're eccentric? Are you correct? So there's these terms that have been thrown around. So we get to work, which means we collect a lot of data. So it's not just Anna's opinion on what you are. We look at, there's a whole system, the framework that I walk actors through, but essentially the broader framework of it is that we look at the outside feedback. We'll look at, and there are ways of collecting that outside feedback of that perception that we cannot ignore. We look at what we know about ourselves to be true, right? So we literally write it all out. We look at, even oftentimes people say, don't ask friends and family because they're biased and they don't know. Yes, but they also know us inside and out. They know the good, the bad, and the ugly. We know when we're being, a bitch and stubborn, or we're this, or that we're naive, right? So that's also an important piece, like what you know about your personal inventory. So your previous casting history, or just like external perception, internal data, and then the vision. Because can you get away with, quirky girl next door if it's working for you? Sure. But if then you have to ask kind of bigger questions like, where am I going? Because also a lot of actors, then they get stuck in these co-star land, right? Like, yes, you get super duper specific and it breaks you in the door in a co-star level, but then it doesn't allow you to grow a career. And so that's where I find that, you become more known. And so the type sort of goes away. Your theme, your through line, your essence stays consistent. So where are you going? And then we're looking at what kind of career you want to have? What kind of stories do you want to tell? What kind of impact you want to make? What worlds do you build? Right? So it's deeper questions. But if we're not tapped into that vision, then it's easy to get sort of too buried in the, you get excited about the first couple co-stars and then you're like, yeah, but that's not what I got into this industry. Like, I didn't get into this industry to be a quirky girl next door and say one line and get out. Like, I want to have an artistic voice. And granted, that artistic voice may not come to life through, Disney and Paramount right now, but there are a lot of incredible independent filmmakers that are higher tier that you can connect with and build the vehicle and visibility and buzz around the vision that you want to share, right? That also taps into your essence. So to give you like a quick version, essentially, I don't give you your brand. We discover it together because it has to feel aligned and good to you. because that's when it then becomes labeling. And we explore that together. The thing is that the more, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this too, like the more we coach, the more we customize the process. At least that's what I found for me, right? Like I remember in the beginning, when I was starting coaching, I just wanted to give a solution so bad. I'm like, you come to me a problem, there you go, right? And the more we coach, the more I see actors with different backgrounds and situations and beliefs and resistance. And so my ideal coaching scenario is when we brainstorm stuff together and we come to a solution that feels aligned versus you like, well, but Anna said, and then you're just sort of like kind of like a robot. Or it can work for you for so long, but then when Anna's out of the picture, you don't know what you're doing, right? So that's why we brainstorm the stuff together. We customize it and we test it out. I'm a big proponent for testing it out. There's no black and white.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Like,
no,
right?
Sure. Yeah, you have to test it out. It's just like creating a new product, right? You got to test it out in the field. But what would be like a one-liner that you and a client, or the client and you came up with, that has propelled their career in the way they actually want to like?
Yeah, so there's a tagline and then there's a branding statement, right? It's all in the way how we articulate. Yeah, so there are different ways, right? Some people do the cross celebrity comparisons. Some people do like just essence based. Some people. So again, I customize the process based on the actor. For some, we identify the through line and we go into types. For some, we just run with like. I think I'm trying to, like, it's always like you put me on the side. It's like who, what, when. I'm trying to remember like a line. So like. I have a client who always plays essentially sophisticated, irresistible bad boys. And it doesn't matter if so the sophisticated talks about the status that she often plays. And it's not always true for every actor. For some, it's fluid. For some, it's irresistible. He has that charm and that flirt. And it doesn't matter what character he plays, that charm just plays into it. And there's that edgy kind of badass bad boy character. And that bad boy could be a lawyer. That bad boy could be a boyfriend. That bad boy could be like, it doesn't necessarily mean love interest. Because he essentially plays that in like variety of different ways. So that's just like a quick, but I also have had clients who we did the celebrity cross comparisons. And the celebrity cross comparisons could be tricky because some industry people love it. Some industry people hate it, right? It can come off cringe, like I am the next blah, blah, blah. But I think what's important is to talk about the essence, right? The eccentric quirk of this celebrity meets the eccentric, right? So in my view, as far as how to articulate your brand, it's good to have several different ways of articulating it, so that we have an expanded version of it on the website and an EPK, and we have another, perhaps a quick one in the email signature, and then in a pitch to a filmmaker versus an agent and a manager is going to look different. But the big thing with articulating it is that it has to be backed up by your materials. If you say you are the next, I don't know, sophisticated, irresistible bad boy, and then I see something completely different, you're actually hurting yourself. But in my view, like you cannot, when you can say it, explain it, you understand it yourself better, and then it gives you clarity enough to then build branding and package around it. And then there's a branding statement, which to me is different. So the branding statement to me is like, what do you bring to the table right now as an artist? So that's when you can say, an award-winning Russian American or whatever your ethnicity is, right? An actor and producer with an extensive theater background and corporate experience, like whatever. It's a summary of like and with personal branding, I recommend choosing like 3 lanes, and it usually taps into either your experience or background or beliefs or that you're going to talk about and be known for. And I think the idea of personal branding becomes more and more important because you guys know that the handsome comedian, Matt Ruffle, whatever guy. I'm butchering his last name. Super like hot, like funny.
Yeah, Matt Rife.
Yeah, Matt Rife. He was in the comedy scene for ages until he got on TikTok and he had this base of like screaming girl fans that literally made Netflix to offer him up a show, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you create enough of a base that people understand who you are and what you believe and what you support and what you're good at, those people will come to you. So, but oftentimes actors are hiding. We're not visible. And oftentimes it's because we don't know what we bring to the table. Or we don't want to be that actor. Like we're still, again, there's this big separation between us as an artist and us as a business. And in a current environment, we can no longer separate the two.
No, you
because
can in any
you can.
business. And I keep reminding people it's a fashion and entertainment industry. You are deciding to be in an industry. If you don't worry about making money, then you can do things that you won't be paid for. But if you actually want to make a career out of it, you have to pay attention that it is a business and an industry that you've entered into. Oh my gosh, you're all these great gems, as Amanda will say. We only have a little bit of time left. I would love to know more. And you've been sharing tidbits about like the special sauce and what you have to offer our listeners. You've like workshops coming up.
Yeah. And I just want to pick up on your point. I 100% agree. If you just want to be an artiste with a big A, right? There's like you can act without making a living. Like there's community theater, there's student films. Like just be an act, just enjoy. But if you say you want to make money from your artistry, we have to look at the business side. So I completely agree with you. Yeah. So one of the pillars that I coach on, obviously, is branding is the foundation of everything. So my private roster is currently full, and I have a membership. But it's outside of those two things, I have a branding course that I launched last year because branding has been the number one thing that actors were coming to me for over and over and over and over again. And like I said, a lot of agents and managers started sending me people to help with that. And so I'm doing a free masterclass, a webinar for actors. So we're going to essentially break it down, what I call a branding umbrella, what branding means. So we're going to talk about type, essence, and the personal and there's going to be plenty of examples. So you know how I just blanked on a bunch of examples? There's going to be plenty of examples that I'm going to literally walk you through my clients and they're like kind of like the framework that I coach on. We're going to address the marketing mistakes that I see actors make over and over and over again. There are two really big ones that literally costing you jobs, you guys, like those that are listening. And I'm going to tap into the personal story, the personal brand aspect, because that's not really talked enough about. And I think that both are equally important. So those are the three main sort of things that I'm going to touch on the masterclass, and it's completely free. Like I have clients from 14 to 73. US, UK, Canada, Australia. And I'm telling you, like, no matter the age, the ethnicity, the background, the system works. It's worked for me. It's working for my clients. So I just want to get more eyeballs on it and share it with more people. So I would love to those listening, come in and check it out. And whether you decide to invest in the branding course with me or not, you will 1000% get a lot from the masterclass itself. I hate those webinars where just like a sales pitch throughout the whole thing. Like you will actually get the value. And if you want to take it deeper and further with me, there you go. So I'm excited to share, and thank you for giving me, the platform to share that.
Absolutely. So when is it, and how do they sign up?
Yes. So the link, I believe, would be shared, hopefully, right in the show notes. I think it's a WW Branding Masterclass. Like, I'm gonna mess up the link. It's a long link, so I hope you guys get to like click on that thing in the show notes. The dates, that's a good question. It's in March. I think it's 20th, 22nd, and 24th, but I might be messing up the dates. So I hope you guys back me up on this and everything.
Either way,
in the
branding, it'll be in the show notes. You'll have it.
Yeah, it's March. And I so far, I'm not really genuinely planning on doing any replays. So I really hope, for those listening, will be able to catch me live. And it's at the end of March, essentially.
What would you like to share for anyone out there who may have inkling of doubt or hesitation or fear around the next steps and their career as an artist and actor in this industry, actress?
I think just shut off the noise for a second, and just ask yourself, do I still want to do it? Why do I still want to do it? And what do I want to do with it? Like, I think we often lose a why, right? Because we get busy being busy and all these opinions and the noise, and we turn around and who are we doing this for? Sometimes we're doing it because we're just spent 10 years doing it. Sometimes because and if you find that, you know what, I don't really want it as much. It's just not anymore, then it's okay to leave and then come back. I have so many clients who in their 50s, in their 60s, I have a 73-year-old client who said, Tyler Perry's waiting for me. And she just flew to, I was like, amazing, So it's never late. I just want to say this idea of like TikTok, that's all bullshit that we put in our head, right? There are no time limits. So have this honest conversation. And if the answer is yes, let's fucking go, right? Then we're looking at, okay, what's the game plan? Where are we going? And why are we going? What's the intent, right? Why are we taking this casting director workshop? Why are we getting these headshots? Why? And my big thing is for actors to, again, take agency in the business. Knowing what you sell, have a strong package, build your team nationally and internationally. It's more and more projects on Netflix are international, and more projects are being cast out of regional markets. Build your team and go directly to decision makers. Don't call up showrunner, producer yet. If you're like, know where you're at and what you can offer, right? So it's a beneficial relationship. but you cannot play small if you want to have visibility and impact in this business. So I'm very big on that. Like, stop playing. If you want it, let's go, right? But if you like, take a break. It's fine.
Yeah, we've all taken breaks at a certain point, like you said. And I love that because Janelle like drills the why. Know your why, know your why. So for everybody who's been an audience member from us from the beginning until now, confirmation, y'all, as Janelle has always been saying, the why. Recognize the why you're doing it and be honest with yourself. And like I say, it's like, tap into your inner self, understand where you are, because if you're going into those rooms not knowing your voice, then how can you voice your brand? How can you voice the fact that you want to be an actor? You know how many times and the reason why I said that was because I struggled with it for so long. And now I walk into the room like I am a Bronx spicy gal, you know, and that's who I am, and I don't apologize for it. Even if I stumble and like I did earlier, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm a human. Get over it. We all have that, and it's okay. And it took me a while too to understand that it's okay. So
no one is confident 100% of the time. That's all an illusion, right? It's just, but taking action will allow you. And I just want to speak to, because what you said is to the I think if the reason this industry feels unstable for a lot of actors is because we are unstable in financially. So we put the pressure on our art to deliver and time. We're putting the pressure. I have to make it by blah 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 time, and if I don't make blah 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 money, I am not a real actor. So, but that's why I like what you guys talk about, multi-hyphenate and the business and everything, is like, if you're financially secure and you have other interests in life and you know what you bring to the table, you relate to yourself differently, you show up differently, you talk to people differently. And so I think a lot of this instability comes from the internal, like, just instability as a human. Right? So there's this broader kind of
it makes you more confident. Like Amanda, I don't like to be afraid of anything, but it doesn't mean I'm fearless. It's just that it's there, and then I do whatever, and I'm like, oh, not afraid anymore. Survived, didn't die. So, you know, like Amanda and I have this podcast. I was pissed because there was some casting directors who I was so afraid of, which I know is silly, but it doesn't matter. So I was like, let's just talk to them and ask them these questions that were, you know, and obviously fine. And then the multi-hyphenate creative is important because it's like, you're just going to put your whole life on hold and not do other things you enjoy, not working in an industry that you want to work in other capacities. I just don't know. You got to make sure that you're working industry you want to be in, making those connections, doing what you love, using all your talents, because, you know, Amanda and I want to do a lot more TV. And we're doing the steps, but you don't know when it's going to happen. So you can do all this cool stuff on the way. You know, it's good.
I love the journey.
We have to go. Amanda.
I love the journey, everyone. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this episode.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
we'll see you next time.